Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Bombas. Bombas is a comfort-focused premium basics brand with a mission to help those in need. One purchased equals one donated. And Bombas has donated over 150 million items to those in need. So I first learned about Bombas a few years ago from my husband when he was researching socks. He purchased them and loved them. So when Bombas reached out to sponsor a video, I said yes because we love their socks. And these are my current favorites. These are the merino wool blends. I love this little band that goes across my arch. It gives me tons of support. They're super squishy and supportive and really warm. Besides the great comfort, what I really love about Bombas is they stand behind their products. They have a 100% happiness guarantee. They have free returns and exchanges for any reason. You don't like the fit, you don't like the color, the dog ate your sock. Free returns and exchanges. They want you to be happy. Just in time for the holidays, Bombas sent me these adorable slippers. These are the gripper slippers. I love this design, so stinking cute. They're squishy and soft on the inside, and on the bottom they have these great gripper dots. But what I love most about these is that they're washable. I can just throw them in the wash with my laundry and they get nice and clean. I think these would make the most perfect holiday gift. So feel good and do good with Bombas, knowing that your purchase is doing some real good. If you'd like to try Bombas for yourself, you can click a link down below or head over to bombas.com/emmymade or scan the QR code above. New customers will receive 20% off their first purchase. Big thanks to Bombas for sponsoring this video and for their continued support so I can make better videos for all of you. Alrighty, my lovelies, today we're going to be making a recipe that claims to make the biggest, softest dinner rolls. My hands are already excited about this recipe. This recipe comes from King Arthur flour, and all the recipes I've tried are well tested and they come out great. So I'm super excited about the potential for this recipe. We're going to be making dinner rolls that contain potato, which potato bread, if you've ever had it before, you know why potato bread is great, because it's plush and soft, and there is actually some science behind it. The potato actually retains moisture so that the bread remains soft and plush. If you've ever made a tangzong before, which is a paste of flour and water, and added it to your bread, it's often used in milk bread recipes. You know exactly what I am talking about. The bread remains plush and soft and doesn't get stale and dried out because of that added moisture in your paste. And in this case, we're using potato. Right? Science is so cool. I love it. So already the potential of this recipe sounds terrific because it's backed by science. So let's go ahead and get started. And as always, I'll include a link to the original recipe down below. Alrighty, lovely. So the first thing we need to do is to cook our potatoes. The recipe says you can use either a russet potato or a Yukon Gold. Both of them will work. I am using a russet potato. So the first thing you need to do is to peel them and to coarsely chop them, and then place them into a pot with cold water. Then you're going to bring that up to a boil, reduce the temperature down to a simmer, and cook them for about 10 to 15 minutes or until they are super, super soft. When you pierce them with a fork, they should crumble and you should feel no resistance. You're going to drain the potatoes, let them cool, and then you need to reserve that cooking water for the recipe as well. As I try to do with all of my baking recipes, I'm using a kitchen scale. I find it's the most precise way to do it, but the recipe also includes volumetric measure as well. So now we're going to squish our potatoes, and I'm using this gadget called a potato ricer. So it's got holes on the bottom and it acts like a giant garlic press. We're going to put our potatoes in there, and that's why we need our potatoes to be well cooked, because we need to be able to squish them. We don't want any lumps. If you don't have a potato ricer, you can mash them with a potato masher or a fork, but we don't want any lumps. So I'm going to fill this chamber up. We want 213 grams or 1 cup of mashed potatoes. So I'm just going to squish that. And this is about 2 medium potatoes. And when I first got this ricer, I thought, oh, what a unitasker. But I've used it in several recipes, and I'm so grateful I have it. It's a surefire way not to get lumps in your mashed potatoes. Oop, there we are. Now we're going to add 3/4 of a cup or 170 grams of our potato water. Next, we're adding 4 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour or 558 grams. Quite a bit of flour, but we were making big rolls. Next, sugar, 1/3 of a cup. So these rolls are going to be a little bit sweet. I love little bit sweet rolls like Hawaiian bread rolls. Love. Oh, have you seen my pandesal video? You should definitely check that video out. Another version of puffy rolls that were fantastic. Okay, next we've got salt, yeast. That was 2½ teaspoons of yeast and 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. 2 eggs. This is going to add some richness. And in the King Arthur video that I watched, they said this also, of course, adds some moisture too, and fat. And finally, and certainly not least, we're going to add some room temperature butter. 6 tablespoons, 85 grams. We're going to reserve those last 2 tablespoons and melt that so that we can brush that on the buns when they come out. So this is what it looks like so far. Now we're going to mix this on low just to incorporate everything, and then we're going to increase the speed to medium and knead it for about 10 minutes or until the dough starts to come off the sides of the bowl. And it should be sticky, but we don't want it to be sticking on the sides. We want the gluten to be nicely developed. So let's start this off. Alrighty, lovelies, I'll come back once this is well kneaded. Whew, that is loud. Alrighty, lovelies, it's been about 10 minutes since we placed the dough into the mixer, or it began mixing the dough. I forgot to mention that you, as always, you do not need a stand mixer to make bread. You can just do it by hand, but there's a slightly different method. For this recipe, what it's recommended is to allow the dough to rest, and then give it some folds, allow it to rest again, give it some folds, and you can develop the gluten that way. Here's what the dough looks like. It's pulled away from the sides of the bowl. Now I'm going to use my dough scraper and scrape the sides of the bowl to get every little last bit of dough and form a ball. Oh, this dough looks beautiful. Stretchy and sticky, but it passes the window pane test. That means we can stretch it and see light through it. That's great. And so I'm just drawing the sides in and scraping down the sides. It smells great. I can smell that butter in there. It smells fantastic. Okay, now I'm gonna cover this with a bit of wrap and place this in a warm spot. Since it's cold here in New England, I'm going to place it in my bread proofer, which will keep it at a nice warm temperature. And we're going to let this rise for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, or until this gets nice and poofed up and doubled in size. So it's about 1/3 of the size of this bowl right now. And when we come back, it should be more like halfway. Nice and floofy and marshmallowy, as they say. Alrighty, lovelies, I'll see you in a little bit. Bye, little dough. Have a good rest. Lovelies, we are back. It's been an hour and a half, 2 hours since we placed our dough in our proofer so that it could double in size. And it's looking so cute. Look at the chubby bunny. Chubby, chubby, chubby. So now we are going to divide and shape our little rolls. To make the rolls nice and even, I'm going to use the scale to weigh out the dough pieces. We want 20 rolls and they should weigh about 60 grams each. First, I'm going to flour my work surface because remember this dough is quite sticky. I've got a 9 by 13 pan here. I'm going to spray it before I forget. That will ensure that our rolls don't stick. Now I'm going to take my bench scraper and go around the perimeter to loosen, and then we're going to dump this out onto the bench top. Look at this chubby bunny. We're going to make 20 pieces, and as I said, we're going to weigh this for accuracy. So I'm going to divide the dough roughly into quarters. Oh, what a pleasurable dough to play with. Okay, separate these into 4 logs. Each log will separate into 5 pieces. What we're doing now is dividing and pre-shaping, and then we're going to do a final shape in a minute. So, there's just, I can't tell you how lovely this feels. Ugh, it's so squishy. Ooh, 61, girl. I'm going to divide these all up and I'll come back and show you how to pre-shape. Now that we've divided the dough evenly, we're going to do a pre-shape, and that's just pinching all the sides into the middle, like this, into a little parcel, and then flipping it over so that the seam is on the bottom. Put a little bit of flour on the bottom so they don't stick too much. So again, draw up the sides, make a little parcel, and flip it over. Cute, they're so pillowy and plush already. Alrighty, lovelies, now we're done with the preliminary shaping, and now we're going to do the final shaping. And in this step, we're really kind of tightening the dough with the palm of our hand. We're gonna make a little cup and get that dough nice and tight and round. And then we're gonna place it into our pre-sprayed pan, and we're gonna do this nice and evenly. We're gonna have 4 rows of 5. So 20 perfect rolls. King Arthur Flour shared a nice tip when it comes to filling the pan with our dough. The natural instinct is to do it row by row by row, but you could leave some extra space or the spacing could be off. So a better way of doing it is to make 1 row first, make 1 row in the middle and 1 row in the end, and then fill in those gaps. Then you can really perfect the spacing on the dough balls. So in terms of shaping, it's suggested that the surface be completely free of flour so that the bottom of the dough ball can kind of stick. We're trying to get it to stick a little bit so that when we shape it and tighten it, it will round up nicely. So using our cupped hand, we're just gonna roll it and tighten up the skin. Look at that, it's so stinking cute. Then we're gonna place the dough ball in our greased pan. Look how cute it is already. Just something about round things. Oh, so cute. Okay, heal my hand. Cute. So 1 row of 4. Now I'm gonna do 1 in the middle. Okay, so we have our 20 balls, and I'm going to work out the spacing a bit so that everybody has enough room, right? Now that we've got these beautifully spaced, we are going to cover them and place them in a warm spot for about an hour or so, or until they poof up beautifully and are marshmallowy and fluffy. And then we're going to bake them in a preheated 350-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes, or until they're poofed up and golden and gorgeous. And then we're going to brush them with some melted butter. And then, lovelies, we're gonna give these little friends a taste. Okay, I'll see you once these have all baked up. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, lovelies. Look at this! They baked up beautifully. Look how perfect these buns are. Rolls, buns, whatever you want to call them. I keep calling them buns because they're just bunny. They're just plump, shiny, so perfectly browned. They're so cute. And like all the King Arthur recipes I've tried, it worked to the T. As long as you follow the instructions, you will get good results. But yeah, I trust King Arthur's recipes because they're well tested. And look, I know I haven't even tasted them yet, but can you look? So, when they came out of the oven, I had some melted butter prepared, and I brushed them with melted butter, got them all glistening and shiny, and then took them out of the pan so that they could cool off a little bit. You can let them cool in the pan if you like, but this allows them to get a little bit drier on the sides. If you leave them in the pan, they're going to steam up a little bit And you can serve them warm, room temperature, and I'm gonna eat one right now because I'm so happy about these. They look absolutely stunning. Let's give them a taste. Enough of this. I'm gonna grab 2 rolls. Oh my gosh, look. Oh, yes, yes. I don't like it when people do this, but I'm gonna do it. Oh, so squishy. They are so squishy and so soft. Okay, let's see what they look like inside. Oh, beautiful. Let's see if these are the biggest and softest dinner rolls. Itadakimasu. Mmm. It's so soft. So squishy. These are softer than the pandesal recipe I made. They are so fluffy. These might be the best dinner rolls I've ever made. So pillowy soft and airy and fluffy, yet they still have substance. They're flavorful. They've got nice buttery flavor from the butter that we painted on top. But that egg in there and the butter that's in the bread itself makes the bread flavorful. There's a little bit of sweetness in there, but not too much. They're not sweet rolls, although you could make these into sweet rolls, and I think that would be fantastic. They don't taste like potato at all. Oh my gosh, make these. You will be so happy. Thanks so much for watching, and big thanks to Bombas for sponsoring this video. New customers can receive 20% off. You can just click the link down below or head over to bombas.com/emmymade or scan the QR code above. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! See? Even my burps approve. Oh my gosh. I just had dinner and I cannot resist. Mmm. So good.